Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm saying that I can see we've got Marie's in from Florida, so I'm just trying to figure that timing out. It must be like 6 in the morning, 6 a.m. So good morning, Marie. Thank you very much for joining us. Wet and rainy. It's sunny here, or it will be. And thank you very much, yes, for the award. I'm kind of avoiding that one at the moment, yeah, because I'm not quite ready to sort of shout about it or anything, but thank you is a biggie indeed. It's a bit overwhelming. Hi Harry, oh, and thank you again, yeah, for the win. I need to get this live stream, get you guys, get all this done and dusted and a few other things, and then I can have a look at the gallery online, and it looks pretty cool. And I found out a few days ago about that, you know, I'd won something, but I didn't know what. And like I say, yesterday I was told what it was, and I was like, really? Okay. Okay, so we've got Susan. Yay, you made it into the chat as well. Battening down the hatches. Oh dear. And hi Avril, and Kerry's in as well. Having another heat wave. It is warm. Luckily I've got everything sealed off in the studio, so it only gets kind of warm. It doesn't get too hot. So anyway, I'm going to get on because a lot of people aren't going to be watching this live because of the time difference. Obviously I've done it earlier. I'm trying to stagger the live streams at different times, especially these live like tutorials that are kind of replacing the tutorials at the moment. But a lot of people, I should say actually, can you see and hear me okay? I haven't even asked that question, so please do let me know in the chat that you can see and hear me okay, and I don't need to adjust anything. So yeah, we're doing these live. There's a few of you in that can ask questions as well. And all looks and sounds good, thank you. We've had issues on Sunday on the Q&A again, and my camera is flashing again with the internet dipping in and out, so I'm going to keep an eye on it, make sure I'm not buffering. I'm going to vanish off the screen in a minute anyway, so it doesn't matter that I'm flashing, because we're going to switch cameras to focus on what we're working on today. So this one, we're going to be focusing on something that came up in the white on black tiger draw along. I'm going to drop myself down in the corner now whilst I think about it. So let's put me down out of the way. That's better, I'm smaller. So something came up when I was doing the white tiger, and I was talking about sort of, I think someone was asking about why was I using two different pencils, because we were using a white Pro Colour and a white Derwent drawing pencil for that one. I'm just going to move my screens around a teeny tiny bit. Okay, got a few of you in. I just want to make sure I can see if it buffers or not. Okay, and see all the questions. Yeah, so someone asked why did I use the two different white pencils, and it's because one is more opaque and one's more translucent. And to be honest, I think the Derwent drawing and the Derwent Pro Colour are possibly the two at the most extreme. They both I use them for different reasons, and I use them for different functions within my art, and it was not something I've really thought about before. That's the kind of question that I like people asking, because as a professional artist with experience, we tend to just kind of work on things not thinking about things like that. We just know that that pencil will do this pencil will do that. Certain pencils you don't want to use on certain papers because it'll have a detrimental effect, and it's just something I guess you pick up with practice and knowledge. Not really anything that you really think about until someone asks the question why. So this has come from that. So all we're going to do today is, let me switch some light onto here, brighten us up a little bit. So what I've done is I've pulled out most of my most known brands of pencils, I guess. I'm going to drop myself off the screen as well. We don't need to see me at all today, thank you. I don't feel like it either. Right. There we go. Let's get rid of me. So I've pulled out the known brands, really. And so we're going to just show a laydown of these I'm going to pop it onto the white. I'm using pastel matte. I've got white pastel matte and I've got a dark blue, not the anthracite, I've got the dark blue. I've also got some of my black Somerset velvet here. I've got some drafting film here. I could grab a bit of suede matte. We'll see what the time goes like as well. I can see a few more coming in there. Got Avril and Helen's in there. Thank you, Helen. Okay, so we're going to work through. I'm going to do the lay down, and then we're going to talk about... we've done a talk about some of these things before in one of the Q&A sessions. I did a talk about the myths, some of the myths behind pencils, like the wax and oil myth, and it's questions that come up over and over again in some of the groups. So here I've got, you can see I've got Derwent Pro Colour, Light Fast and Drawing. I've got the Prismacolor. I've got my Caran d'Ache Pablo, Museum Aquarels and Luminance, Polychromos, and my Caran d'Ache, sorry, those are the Pablos. No, my faber-castell Albrecht Dürer. I told you I'm a little bit sort of wobbly because winning that award was a bit knocked me. I've also got to hand pastel pencils, but I've also pulled out these. We don't really use a lot for most pencil work. So this one I had a real bad, I don't know, it's been dropped or whatever, it's shattered all the way through. But these are the Prismacolor Verithins. These are super hard, so these are probably the hardest pencils that I've got. But I've also got these which are quite hard, and I quite like these, but I don't tend to use them in any of my tutorials because not many people have them. I won them a long time ago. These are the Brinzial Sakuras. So I've got those there as well, so I might sort of just show those in action. But again, those Verithins have their own very specific use because they are so hard. So let's get going with the demo. Any questions that you've got, throw them into the chat for me, please, because, and then anybody's watching afterwards, if you are watching this and you've got questions, this is going to be up on Patreon for playback, so just ask the question on Patreon or pop it into the comments. You won't be able to obviously access the chat after the session. There's a couple of things. I got some resources as well. I don't know if any of my admins are there to pop some links up for me. If not, don't worry, I'll add the links over on Patreon and into the description of this video after the event. So we've done some tests before on some of the live demos and things. This was just one we did where we did some lay down of all of our pencils and we added water to them just to show how much normal or standard colour pencils do move when you add water. So there's lots of things you think, oh, you can't move colour pencils, you can't move a wax pencil or an oil pencil with water. Well, you can, and we kind of proved it with that demo. Let me see if I can get all of this in shot for you. Let's have a look. And then I will zoom in so you can see the coverage. I want to make sure this is all lit really nice and evenly. There we go, and then we can slide along. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of pressures. I'm going to do maybe one layer. I'm going to use my white obviously on the dark blue, and then we'll do black onto the white paper. And we're going to do one layer. Actually, let's start on the black, on the white paper. I'll probably show up clearer. And we're going to start with the Pro Colour and the Light Fast Drawing. We'll work our way along, and any questions you got, and I'm going to talk as we go along as well. So I'm just going to get going. So I'm going to use the pressure. So remember when, oopsie, knocked the camera. So when obviously I do the tutorials, I'm always saying to you about your pressure. So this is, remember, thinking about your pencils, whispering to the far side, screaming. So this side is literally just touching the paper, you're just feeling it touch the paper, and by the time you get to the other side, you're building that pressure until you're pressing as hard as you can. That's when you're making your pencils scream. I tend to go in with a pressure here, about a pressure 3 to 5. Some people do pressures 1 to 5 as their measurement. I do 1 to 10, and then I say between 3 to 5. And then you can, if you want to, come in with a heavier pressure. So I'm going to work using my standard pressure today, just so it's all nice and consistent. I hold the pencil loosely. I'm just going to come in. So this is the Pro Colour first of all, and I'm going to just lay down one layer there. On the bottom half here, I'm going to lay down 1, 2, we're just going to build it and see, 3. I think what we'll do, if we go for 5, 3, 4, 5. And you can see, because it's on pastel mat, it's gritty grainy, but this is literally, as we go along, you're going to see, especially when we hit the drawing, possibly the museum aquarelle, there's a few of them, possibly even the Albrecht they're going to come out a lot thicker. And this is where I'll explain that, you know, you would then use those pencils to speed up your work if you need to build up your layers a lot quicker. If you're not needing to mix them, if you're needing to mix them, you want to go for something like your Pro Colour or your polychromos, which are going to be your translucent ones. But let's get all these down, and then you'll see. So this is the Derwent Lightfast next. So this is one layer. So then we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So as you can see, even the laydown of that, exactly the same pressure. It's black. I'm going to bring in our Derwent drawing next, and just want to show you the comparison here. If you can see the thicknesses of the core, so this is the Lightfast on the left, and this is the Derwent drawing on the right. Can you see the thickness of the core? So the Lightfast is 4mm. 4mm is pretty standard for most coloured pencil. The drawing is 5mm, the drawing pencil. It's a big chunky core, so if you want, again, it helps speed up laydown, but it is a little bit awkward with the drawing to maintain that nice point. You can't really do a lot of details, but these are great for building up fast underpainting. So let's get a layer of this one down, and this one should stand out straight away just from doing one layer. See how much denser or more opaque that one is. So let's get 1, 2, 3. Like I say, any questions, throw them in the chat. If I don't know the answers, I'll find the answers for you. 4, and that is 5. See, look how beautiful and rich that is, which is great for some circumstances, but you might not want it to be that rich every single time. Let's make sure I'm not mixing these pencils up. Okay, so onto Prismacolor next, which is a pencil I do not use very much. I bought the set. They've all split. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see there's a crack? Hairline crack running all the way down that pencil. Never been dropped. They've cracked whilst they've just been sat in a drawer. Very thin to hold. They're round, very thin, very light. I know there's production issues since they moved the production to Mexico. So let's get one layer down there of our Prismacolor. Comparison to the one next to it. It's nowhere near as dark as that, but you can see already it's more opaque than our Pro Colour at that end. And you could do this little test really quickly on your own if you want to just try out some of your colours, because strangely some of your colours within a brand will lay down slightly differently to other colours in the brand. I find some of my polychromos, I'm just counting as well, that's 4. Some of my polychromos seem to be more opaque than others. Port line with each two, just to demo the difference in widths and densities when laid down. Yeah, I will do that. I'll go back and along, and I'll do that along the bottom afterwards, Helen. Fab. It's a bit more awkward on the pastel max. It'll be quite grainy flick, but I will definitely do that at the end. And if I forget, shout at me. So now we're going to move on to one of our Caran d'Ache, and this is the Pablo. I don't tend to use the Caran d'Ache Pablo Black very much. I tend to use my white quite a lot. I don't know, for some reason, I just prefer my Polychromos black and my Pablo's white. It's just, I don't know, I've never thought about it, but I prefer the laydown of the Polychromos black. I will bring this one in if my Polychromos is running low. This is my next choice to it. But it's quite weird, I guess, if you're not thinking about your materials and you're just diving in with them, you tend to just learn and naturally then go with, I think this is number 5, what stays in your memory that worked well last time or didn't work well. It does register with you. So this is a Museum Aquarelle, which is, yes, a watercolour pencil, but you can use it dry, and I love the white Museum Aquarelle as well. I love my Albrecht Dürer, and the Albrecht Dürer watercolour pencils, obviously from Faber-Castell, were my first set. And they're the ones that I used dry, I think, pretty much for the first 18 months, because I was afraid to add water. And like I say, they are perfectly fine to be used as dry pencils. You don't have to add water. They give a slightly more, kind of like a softer, waxier finish to them. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in on all of these so you can see later on. I mean, you can still see that Derwent drawing is standing out the most. The Prismacolor and the Pro Colour are more translucent. You shouldn't see a huge amount of difference between these two or the polychromos, I don't think, but we shall see. Hi Megan, I'd like to know the best way to layer pencils on black non-sanded paper if you'd like to start while underpainting. I'm going to come to that one, Kerry. Thank you very much. I saw you asked it in the group earlier on, so we will pick up on that, and I'll switch out to the black paper after we've done our demos. So now I'm coming on. This is Caran d'Ache Luminance. I have the full set of these. I thought I was buying like the Rolls Royce of pencils. I can't stand them. I will need to try them again. I like them on things like Never Tear, drafting film. I just find them really scratchy. I just don't like the feel of them. Even now, putting this down, it's almost making me cringe. You know that whole... the child that scratches the blackboard at school with their nails, and that whole... oh! That's how they make me feel, and I just don't relax when I'm drawing them. They've got some beautiful colours. Okay, so that's 5 layers of the luminance. So you can see, even though these are supposed to be super opaque, and everyone's always saying about, oh, the luminance really thick and rich, when you lay them next to each other, I'm not seeing it. Okay, so now on to obviously my favourite black, which is the polychromos. Goes down. Oh, it feels like heaven compared to just using that luminance. Okay, so 1, 2. I turn my pencil with each one as well because it self-sharpens. 3, 4. And we're going to talk about the makeup of it in a minute, but I think that's gone down so much better than that. So you can see very similar between the polychromos, the Museum Aquarelle and the Pablo. So you'd expect this to be closer to the Pro Colour. And it is in feel, but it goes to show that Pro Colour does lay down lovely if you want a nice translucent glaze. And again, we will talk about the uses of them. You only have one luminance, can't stand the sound and feel of them. It's weird, isn't it? I think maybe using them on a different paper helps. They're great, obviously, on... this is Albrecht Dürer now, which is a Faber-Castell watercolour artist pencil. I think with the luminance, yeah, you've got to get used to them. And like I say, some of the colours are wonderful, but I don't need to use those colours enough to get past that icky feeling I get using them, that scratching. Okay, so that's 4, 5, and I will often, if I'm running low on a colour or I'm just being lazy and I can't bother to go and get another box, I'll often just open up my Albrecht Dürer drawers and fill them in. If I'm missing a polychromos, I'll go, oh, I can't find a beast of polychromo, oh, I'll just grab the one out of the Albrecht Dürer. I tend to mix and match these quite a lot. They're exactly the same colours. Okay, so we've just got 2 more on this end, which I'm going to do, which is the Brunnseal Sakura, which I know a lot of you don't have, but they're really nice pencils. They lay down beautifully and smooth. I don't know what their light fast rating is like. I think they're a Dutch brand. I'd need to double check. But they're readily available. The only ones I haven't splashed out and bought are the Holbeins, which I'm going to buy, but there's no way... I think that's number 3. There's no way I can use the Holbeins for a tutorial because they're so expensive. They are so ridiculously expensive. I think that's 5 layers I did that. I'm sure you'll correct me if I didn't. And then lastly, you don't enjoy the luminance either, Megan. Ah, this is the Prisma Verithin. You would not use the Verithin I wouldn't use the Verithin for normal colour pencil work. They have a purpose, and that is for fine details because of the hardness of the pencil. You can press them down and super hard with a super sharp point, and get super fine details, especially with those flicks of fur around the outside of your pastel mat, around the edges, like for a mane. But you can see there's not a huge amount of pigment that goes down with them. They're very dry, but they've got a purpose. So that's our first little comparison there. So before I move on, and I know I've covered, like I said, I've covered this before in a Q&A session, the myth behind oil pencils versus wax pencils. Every pencil, I'll just pop myself up whilst I'm nattering away to you. So every pencil, if I can find myself, we're on camera 1, let's pop me up there. So the myth with the oil and wax pencils. You hear people say, okay, so, and they will advertise this as well. So say Derwent Lightfast. Derwent Lightfast is Derwent's oil-based pencil. Prismacolor is well known and bandied about online as being a wax-based pencil. There's discrepancies every time you go to Caran d'Ache whether the Pablo or the Luminance is the oil or the wax. I thought it was Luminance was the oil, Pablo was the wax. I'm now actually working quite closely with the head technician at Caran d'Ache on a project at the moment. I'm going to ask him this week. I should have asked him last week ahead of this. Can he tell me once and for all, you know, which one they describe as being their wax or oil-based pencil? It's a myth anyway. It's just what they say as a company. And you've got your Museum Aquarelles and your Albrecht Duras, and obviously they've got a different kind of binder in there as well. So it's not wax, it's a soluble encaustic type substance. It's a bit like wax. You need to get me a Derwent drawing. You need to get yourself a Derwent drawing black, definitely. I'm starting to use that more now in my tutorials as well, but it's going to save time. And I'm going to use that this weekend on our draw along with the black shiny fur. I'm going to show how we're going to combine our drawing pencil in with, I mean, the Lightfast should be coming up, you know, sort of this Lightfast should be in theory coming up quite close to this because it is thick and opaque, but that drawing just stands out above others. So basically all pencils, they've got pigment. So pigment obviously is what gives them their colour. And then they've got a binder. So the pigment is a powder form, so they have a binder, and there's different types of binder, and that's where you get your wax and your oils. But you've also got fillers, so you've got things like clay and talc and other things. So you've got all this stuff, and it gets, you know, bound together with a binder. Now, every pencil here has got a level of, well, apart from the watercolour ones, but every regular pencil here has got an amount of wax and oil in there as part of their binders. It's part of their makeup, part of their recipe. We don't know their exact recipe because, of course, the manufacturers aren't going to tell us that. But every pencil here is wax and oil based. It's just a proportion. So whether with Derwent, when they say, okay, Lightfast is our oil base, it might have a higher percentage of oil than wax. It might just have a higher percentage of oil in the Lightfast of their range compared to any of their other colours, and compared to the Pro Colour or the drawing or anything like that. In theory, the amount of oil that goes into a pencil affects its hardness. So the more oil, in theory, and kind of in practice, the more oil that's in there, the harder the pencil. So the harder the tip, which is true, because I'll find if polychromos are supposed to be oil-based pencils, so let's say they've got a higher content of oil, they sharpen up really well, they hold their point well, you can do fine details. But if I then say, okay, Prisma Verithin is my hardest pencil and is the best for details, it hasn't got a huge amount of pigment, and to be honest, it doesn't feel very oily. So you've got to kind of, literally, you've just got to get to learn your pencils and find out what works best for you. Hopefully this demo today will just show you which ones you might go, actually I don't feel they're going to suit what I need. All of these work well together. Some of my softer pencils, so like my Prismacolor, if I'm going to work on something like Suede Matte, I would go for something that's supposedly more of a waxy based pencil. So I would go for something like Prismacolor, or my Pablos work really well. But my Pablos are also, they'll sharpen up to quite a firm hard point and hold a hard point. So are they more oil? They're definitely softer. I wouldn't use my Luminance, definitely not my Pro Colour, and I wouldn't use my Polychromos as a base layer on my Suede Matte either, because they're so hard they might tear. I might use them on the side to lay down some kind of pigment and then push it in, but you need something a little bit thicker and more opaque. And to be honest, we like something like Suede Matte and even your Pastel Matte, it soaks up your pigment. A lot of you have said before about you'll go to bed and you come back the next day and your paper has soaked up some of your pigment. Sometimes it's the oils it's soaking in, and with the oil being soaked in, it'll, you know, it's pulling the pigment down, so it kind of fades overnight, so you then need to get more layers on there. So there's little anomalies with all of them. I'm going to switch over now to putting down the whites, and then we'll come back and just show them all. Oh no, I need to do my flicks. I need to do my flicks before Helen shouts at me. Okay, so our Pro Colour first of all. Let's get rid of me on here. I've got a Derwent. I've got some Colour Soft, Harry. I've got one here, but I don't have a full range of them. So I don't have a black. Let me just see what's my... I've got a dark brown. So just on this end, because you've mentioned it. So this is the Derwent Colour Soft, but I've only got dark brown. I don't have a black. So let's come in and just do one lay down here. They are beautiful. So I'm going to invest now in getting a Colour Soft black, because that lay down is beautiful, and then I'm going to compare that to my drawing. Now, just laying down that there, it's the first time I've ever used a Colour Soft. Someone gave me a handful, been sat in a drawer, never used them. That lay down in comparison to the Derwent drawing felt thick and creamy. Almost like, not claggy, but I know if that got warm it'd be a little bit sticky. This felt really dry. And I prefer that lay down, I guess. That was nice, so I'm going to buy one and get some of those and order some after this. So thank you for mentioning those, Harry. So I'm just going to come along the bottom. I'm going to make myself disappear again. So we're just going to do some flicks here as well. So just some pencil lines. Now that Pro Colour, I've done different pressures there. So a fine pressure, and then I'll press as hard as I can there at the end. I'm going to zoom in and I'll just slide along as I do this. Let's see if I can zoom in and still keep everything in. There we go. And I'll just move this along as we go. That held a really nice fine point. Didn't snap on me either, and it did a nice lay down. So same here, so really light pressure with the light fast. I'm going to build the pressure, I'm turning my pencil. It's not holding quite a fine point, but the lay down is really nice there. It's quite sharp, but not as sharp as obviously the harder Pro Colour there. But you could use obviously the light fast for nice fine details. So the drawing, okay, so light pressure. Oh, this is holding a better point than I thought. 3. So I'm going to press as hard as I can and try not to break it. This, you see how lovely and dark that is compared to the light fast, even just pressing that harder. This, you'd struggle doing details because that tip would snap off. You need to be you'd need to do a detail and then possibly use a little sanding block or something just to keep that fine point. Or you can lay down with this, and that's when something like your Verithin over the top would come in, because your Verithin is so hard and such a fine point you can get on it, and it holds that point. You can come into your drawing pigment and drag it out using this point. You could drag out the pink pigment using a stylus or a dart as well, which hasn't even got any pigment on it. But if it has got a touch of pigment, like the Verithin or your Pro Colour, you could use that with your softest, darkest pencil and pull details out if you can't achieve them with your soft pencil itself. Hopefully that made sense. So, Prismacolor. Held a nice fine detail. Allowing me to do the light pressure. You can see where the point is wearing down really fast, because it starts off quite fine here, and see how thick the line is by the time we've got there. Yeah, Helen, I find that colour soft I just put down, that felt lovely, almost like chalk pastel. I could handle that. I'd be interested to see how my polychromos would work over the top of those. Right, let's whiz on and get this done. So this is the Pablo, and again, Pablo's, more than happy to use these for fine details. They sharpen up, they hold a lovely point. So Museum Aquarelles, very similar in feel, but again they are wearing down on their point rather fast there, as I was adding a little bit of pressure at the end. Right, let's try these luminants. I cringe. Okay. I find it hard to say nice things about the luminants. That was fine though. It went down fine. Portraits because of the softness of the finish. Yeah. Are they nice for blending out as well, Helen? Because obviously I haven't used them. Okay, so this is my polychromos. Again, you can get a lovely control with your polychromos. And you get a finer line there as well, because they're a harder pencil again. So again, great for details. Albrecht will be very similar to the polychromos. Did you hear the difference, did you, in those luminants? Or was it just me going, eek? Where's the Brinzel Secure? I'll just do this one quickly as well. Now you can hear those scratching. The Prisma. So I'm going to press as hard as I can with that Prisma. See, it's still pressing as hard as I can there with that Prisma of everything. It's still holding a really fine line. The point is still there on it. Works great with this blending stuff. I'm going to have a play. I've only got a handful of these. Oh, they feel lovely. And it is. They feel like pastel pencils. They're yummy. Okay, so that's our black on white. And what I'm going to do is, as long as we've got plenty of time, we'll come in and we'll do some mixing and blending over the top and see how other pencils go down over the top of those as well. But, let me zoom out again. You should be able to get from that, a good idea of which ones, most opaque, obviously the Derwent drawing. Secondly, by eye, I would then say you've got the Museum Aquarelles, along with our Lightfast and Pablos. The polychromos have surprisingly done well on this black paper. The black polychromos is good though. It's not as translucent as our white one, which we will see on the next test. And that's what I was saying about some of the pencils, different colours in the polychromos range. And it might then be true with the other ranges as well. Let me just adjust the light here. Do I need that one? Let's go with that. So I'm just going to angle my studio lights a little bit and we can move things around. Okay, so I'll do exactly the same again. So I'm going to come in now, white on, this is on the dark blue. So just pressure 3, one layer. This is the Pro Colour. So I'm not sure with this one whether the Pro Colour or the Polychromo is going to be the most translucent. 3, 4, 5. So if you think about the benefits then of why would you choose so Lightfast next, why would you choose, or why or when would you choose to use a more translucent pencil, and why and when would you choose to use a more opaque pencil? Translucent, the reason I love the polychromos, especially the white, the ivory, the cream, a lot of my pale colours, It's because it allows me to glaze. It allows me to glaze and blend, almost like laying a really thin layer of like watercolour glaze over the top of something. It doesn't change the colour completely, it just adds a glaze, a hint, a tint almost. With something like this Derwent drawing though, you wouldn't be able to glaze really a Derwent drawing white over the top of something to soften it. It would obliterate it. It would work, this would work really well, the Derwent drawing. Is that 3 or 4? Is that 3? Is this 5? I've lost count. So I'll just do that. I think that is only 4 layers. It's going to look a little bit bright. So change our settings over here. Let's take the brightness down a tiny bit. That's better. There we go. So I think that's only 4 layers there. So this, yeah, you wouldn't want to be using that over the top of your work, or because it's just going to obliterate it. But to bump up and speed up your underpainting, to fill something like your tooth on your UArt, your pastel mat, or especially your dark colour pastel mat that's got more tooth to fill, especially if you're quite impatient. If you want to get there a bit quicker and you know you definitely have got like a real, especially black, let's say you're doing a black dog, you've got those black shapes, which we're going to do at the weekend, doing the ear, and carry on and talk as we work, Prismacolor. You want to get there quicker. You don't want to be keep layering with your dark polychromos. Just get a couple of your light, your Derwent drawings out, and get a couple of coats in using those, because it'll speed your work up. Up until now, my tutorials, I've tried to keep them to a limited brand so that you guys aren't having to spend loads of money on every single tutorial. But now I'm starting to try and show you, bring in the odd pencils. So like I say, that Derwent drawing, I'm going to try pulling out some of my luminants, because I do feel that I've been quite dismissive of them because of their texture. So this is the Pablo now. And as you know, I use my white Pablo a lot. I love it. It gives a lovely opaqueness. It holds a nice sharp point. It allows me to do details, fine lines right at the end of a drawing, in place of my polychromos that is a little bit translucent. And this is one that sits in the middle for me. It's a good all-rounder, and that's why I like using it. I'm starting to realise some difference in same colours of pencils. Is this reason enough to buy more sets? Food for thought, starting some difference in the same colours of pencils. Harry, do you mean the same? You've seen a difference in the same colours of pencils in the same brand? So say you've got polychromos, I don't know, phthalo blue, and then you get another phthalo blue. Is it a different colour? Is that what you're asking? I'm not quite sure. No, or is it something that I've mentioned? Same colours of pen. Oh, is it what I'm demoing? So the difference between all these whites mean you need to buy all the sets with white. No, that's why I'm doing this demo, so you can select from here which ones you think you need without having to buy them all. I'm not taking the blame. Museum Aquarelle. I'm not taking the blame for being another feeder of pencils. Right, Museum Aquarelle. So again, this one sharpens up nicely for details. Another really good one for doing something like your whiskers and your details. It holds a nice point. Exactly the same as your Albrecht Dürer as well, though. It's quite opaque. 3, 4. I have done this demo before, the white pencil. I think I've got more brands now myself. Oh, wait for it. It's the luminance. Here we go. Oh, God. It's almost like there's I don't know, it's like there's like some, it's not grit that's catching, but it's like, I'm rubbing a piece of pastel mat on a piece of pastel mat. I'm losing count. I think that's 3. 4. I'll do one more. I still think I only did 4 on that Derwent drawing. Okay, so to me, I prefer the Museum Aquarelle's brighter, and the Pablo has gone into the even the way it's gone into the tooth. The Pablo has sunk into the tooth better. I'll zoom in on this again as well. Better than that Lumens. The Lumens has kind of sat on the surface. Polychromos. So, Polychromos. Again, this is one I would use for glazing, not for any opaqueness. But saying that, before I discovered and bought, I think that's 3, lots of ranges of pencils. I only really had my Polychromos white and my Albrecht white. That's all I had to work with. So I made it work. So, you know, I got it to work. Let's have a look here. Make sure I've still got everything in the screen. There we go. Okay. The sound difference is significant, is it really? You can hear it. Oh god. Enablers. I know, support group for enablers. Carrie, you've narrowed it down to drawing and light fast. I don't know if I've got a complete set of drawing pencils. I might give Derwent a shout, if not, and say, am I okay to demo them? Would you like to send me some, please? But I don't know if I'd use them all. This is the Albrecht Dürer now. The only ones I'm not going to put into this demo is the Inktense, because they're not... They kind of sit in a little world of their own. So that one's come up nice and bright as well. So what have we got? Sakura, which is our little additional one. These go down lovely. They're so smooth, but they're very similar in feel to the Polychromos, but I'm going to show you something as well. So with pencils, brands, when you want to know the facts about the pencils, or the facts that the manufacturer wants to give us, just go to their website. Don't Google and go to some art blog or someone else's opinion, because it's only an opinion. Just like this is just my opinion and my demonstration here. I try to do it fairly. This is the Verithin. I try to do it fairly, and obviously I discover things as well sometimes from doing these demos. Sometimes, you know, what you think's going to happen doesn't quite. This is just sharpening the pencil up as I turn it. So it's super sharp still, even after I've just used it there. So let's just come back and do our flick session, and I'll zoom in on them. Colour range in the drawing is quite limited, yeah. It should be good for animal and landscape drawings. They have they overhauled? They were overhauling the Derwent. I've done some testing for them over the last year or so, I think, and I know they were looking at either, because they were asking questions, Pro Colour. Really nice sharp point, great for details. Light fast. You can see that starts to thicken up again. Let's zoom in again. I need to get this like on a zoomy remote control thing. Zoom in here. There we go. Okay, so that was starting to... It loses its point quite quickly, but it is nice. You can get details. Right, so drawing, so light. This goes on. Compared to something like that Coloursoft, which was dry, when you put a drawing down, it almost feels wet and sticky. It's that thick. It's like putting down a line of paint with a brush. It is literally like putting down a thick strip of gloss white paint or something. That's how the difference of it, how it feels. Prismacolor next. Really soft, really smooth, and you can get a lovely bright white highlight with those. Where are we next? Pablo. There is some things as well about shapes of pencils. So you get a different feel for how you hold pencils. You've got round barrels. The round barrels are great because for holding them, they roll around on your table, which isn't good if you've got angled table, which means you can shatter them, which isn't good. Museum Aquarelle. And also, it's proven that. So that's a little bit of a thicker lay down there. That's a Museum Aquarelle. There's a little bit of a issue that your fingers tire more using a round barrel for a long time. So they make hexagonal barrels. They also make the soft grip ones. There's grip ones, there's triangular ones. So the ones that are hexagonal and that, they're great because you get a better grip on them. They're less stressful on your fingers. But again, this theory behind everything. Oh, okay, we're going in with the luminance again, guys. Okay. Oh, I don't like it. No, I can't. Does anybody want a full set of luminance? Oh dear, my polychromos. Good job I followed. I didn't plan that. See that? Absolutely beautiful. Really, they just go on. Absolutely lovely. Albrecht. Again, you get really super sharp points. So if you're stuck for cash and you want to try watercolour pencils, but you also want something that's similar to polychromos, go for the Albrecht and use them dry. Then you've got the versatility of using them wet or dry. So here's the Secura. Again, lovely. These are lovely for giving really nice details. And then of course our Verithin, which is going to give us, I'm pressing so hard there. So I'm going to just move this along. Let's try and get a better light on it. Here we go. So you should see, I'm going to tilt these so you can see there. So with the one lay down, obviously the Derwent drawing is more opaque, but if we come along, the Secura is actually coming out quite opaque too. You can see the Prismacolor. The Prismacolor, when I tested them on black paper, came out the brightest. But you've got the drawing white comes out quite a cold, bright white. Some of them come out almost like a warmish white as well. I'd say the luminance is more of a warmish white, which it doesn't mean it's tinging it yellow. It's just not got that bluey whiteness like that Aquafresh kind of super bright white there. I'm just catching up on the questions now. Out of the 3 CDs, I love the Pablos the most. Now the Pablos, we're going to talk about light fastness as well, but there's a link. I don't know, Susan or Megan, if you can share one of the links that I popped into, both the links I popped into the chat with you guys this morning. If you can, that would be great. If not, I'll share it. But there are links online. When I was saying about just go to the manufacturers, and there is a ton of information that you can find. This is an example. So this is called the Derwent Matrix, and basically what it does, I'll zoom in so you can see a bit better. This gives you a breakdown of lots of information. So if we look on the colour pencil page, it's got your Light Fast, Pro Colour, Colour Soft, drawing pencils, or their full range of pencils, and it will say what the texture is. It will say the Light Fast is a creamy laydown. The Pro Colours is a smooth laydown, the Colour Soft is a soft. So from that little test that we've just done, I will agree completely. The Light Fast felt creamy, the Pro Colour felt smooth, and the Colour Soft felt soft as I laid them down. The drawing pencils felt super creamy. I haven't got the Artist or the Studios. I do have the pastel pencils, and there's metallics, but it's great. It gives you a full breakdown of, like, it's... Obviously the pastel pencils are powder based, and then it'll say whether it's wax or oil based, which, like I said, that's kind of maybe a little bit more oil. It might be that there's more oil in those Light Fast than there is in the Pro Colour, the Colour Soft drawing, or any of the others. It doesn't mean that it's 100% oil because it's going to have a balance of wax. It doesn't mean that it's got more oil than a polychroma. We don't know that makeup, we don't know the recipe. It tells you the size there even of the barrel, and also the number of colours that are available in the range, and with the performance it tells you the light fast range as well, the blendability, and it just does it almost like on a star rating. So something like the light fast, obviously 100% of the colours are light fast. The blendability, which is the one thing that Derwent love us guys, the ambassadors, to talk about, is the blendability. And when I was interviewed for Derwent, without knowing, they were interviewing me, they were just chatting to me, and every time I said the word blendable, they were like, "Ooh!" And then afterwards they went, "We love that you used the word blendable, and you know, blend with when you're talking about the light fast." I said, "Well, they do. They blend beautifully." So, but they're not easy to erase, whereas the Pro Colour are. Only 72% of the colours of the Pro Colour are light fast. Point strengths, you'll see there, exactly like we've just said, the point strength on the Pro Colour is the hardest. Light fast is pretty good. The Colour Soft is down on a 3 rating. So everything that we've just talked about, thank you very much, Megan, for popping those up for me. So if you see the links there, this one I'm showing you is the Acho brand partner. It will take you to that. It's a really good one to just save. It's got all their pencils on there with all that explanation, and you go to any of the manufacturers. There's a faber-castell frequently asked question there as well. It's not quite the same, unfortunately. It'd be great if they all did something like Derwent, with that representation there. It's really, really handy. Let me see, where am I again? I'm back. Is this my natural hair colour? Actually, I am grey. I started going grey when I was about, I don't know, 16. My hair's black. Really black. My brother went grey and white pretty much when he was about 12. I dye mine now, obviously, and make it a nicer looking silver rather than grey. Naturally pink. I wish it was. So look, I accidentally grabbed my Colour Soft instead of my drawing for my suede matte board, and it was so gloopy, totally messed it up. So there you go. Choosing the right pencil for the right surface is really important. Not every surface will enjoy some of these pencils. Your most versatile ones, obviously, your polychromos, your Pablos, your luminants, and your Albatroas. Light fast are pretty flexible, but to say there's certain things I wouldn't even attempt to put a Pro Colour down on suede matte. I just don't think it would grip at all. I forgot to get a piece here ready. But there's advantages to things like the luminance. So the luminance, if I put the luminance down, I am going to get your black paper, Kerry. If I put the luminance down on... Alright. I'm going to need a backing sheet. Here we go. Let's do this. So, this is a sheet of drafting film, and I'm not sure what make it is, but it's drafting film, and it's double matte. So, if I was going to work on drafting film, I would choose one of my slightly firmer pencils that's got a nice high pigment rating, so one that I trust. So I would choose my polychromos. I would even, I know I've done this with just light fast because of that blendability. So you'll take something like the polychromos that's a little bit harder, and then you take something that's a bit softer, and you use the soft one to drag the harder one around. So let me just show you that. Let's grab this. Does involve me using luminance. I need some polychromos colours. I'm just going to grab 2 or 3 colours out of the drawer just randomly. So if I just pop down, and this is what I call it, the smooshing. I kind of made that term up, smooshing. So like where I worked on the Husky, I just pop in my colour, like, you know, quite randomly. And then I don't really use... There we go. I'm going to grab a light fast, she says. There we go. So I'm grabbing a luminance now and a light fast. Now I look at my luminance and my light fast when I'm working on drafting film as being my blenders. Prismacolor work quite well, but they're quite thick with the pigment laydowns. So I tend to go precision placement with my polychromos because I know they are I can be quite precise, get quite fine details and good placement and good quality pigment release. And then I'll come in with either my luminance, and I'll start, this might be a little bit bright, this one, but you can come in with a luminance and it'll just start to drag some of those colours out and soften it. You can glaze with them, and also with the light fast, I should have tried this maybe with a, what it does, you can use your thicker, softer pencils, not your drawing pencil though. Your thicker, softer pencils can be used to drag out some black, to drag out, this might show up better if I use a black, to drag your more firm pigments around. So by dragging this out, you can then create almost like a smooth transition. That's showing up better. Let me zoom in and then you'll be able to see it for sure. So, can you see here? So just here, I've zoomed in quite a bit. You can start to drag out. I'll do it with the light fast as well. So you can drag. You have to use a lot of pressure here. So like I say, when people say about using a light pressure on drafting film, when I come into smoosh, I drag and I press hard, and I can drag that pigment around, and you can do exactly the same. When we're using the illuminance on here, on this paper, there's none of that horrible scratchiness. I find the light fast drags it out nicer. But this is a use, and this is where this is partly why I've kept the luminance, because I know that I will use them on papers like this. I will also use them on Never Tear. I think I've got some Never Tear here, or did I not pull it out? Yep, got some Never Tear here. So it works exactly the same way on Never Tear, which is a paper that we're obviously going to cover. You smoosh on pastel matte too. Find it really useful to soften the top coat. There you go. And it's mixed. What do you tend to use for your smoosher, Helen? What a ridiculous thing to say as a technical term. What do you smoosh with? So, you know, sort of like, what do you tend to choose as your favoured? This is a polychromo going down here again. This is on Never Tear. What do you tend to choose as your favoured smoosher, and what do you tend to use underneath before you smoosh? So I'm going to come in here now with my light fast, and I will drag that pigment out. It's not showing that well on that. Let's just try it with our luminance. See, the luminance is actually working nicer there. And the luminance does work really nicely on Never Tear. But it is a case, you see how much that's softened up. You smoosh with light fast. Did a bunch of white cats, tried it with the polychromos, but the light fast was better. Yeah, your light fast or your luminance are your smooshing tools. It's better now that I've pulled out. You can see how much that it pulls the black out. You can soften. They are great, but only on the right surface. I wouldn't go in with that pressure using a light fast or a luminance over the top of my polychromos on my pastel mat. I can show you. There's no reason why we can't. And then we'll go on to the black paper. Do you know what? I haven't moved, but I've lost... There we go. As I say, I've lost all of that demo sheet that we were working on. Here we go. So let's try that again. Exactly what Helen was just saying. So you'll do... Did you go in full on pressure with your smooshing, Helen? Let's have a look here. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to grab one other colour. Let's get a nice orange. So I'm going to come in here. So I'll lay some black down of my polychromos. A little bit of some orange as well. Let's get some orange. So, let's say, use your polychromos because they are slightly more translucent, and those polycolours, polycolours, making up my own brands here. Because they're translucent, you can get more layers. It would take me, if I did 20 layers, or 10 layers even of that Derwent drawing, compared to 10 layers of the polychromos, for me to get up to the same density and opacity of black as the Derwent drawing, I would have to do so many more layers. And I've done that demo where, you know, I did the comparison of on black or white paper. I showed that, you know, you could do 45 up to 70 layers using your polychromos. You wouldn't be able to do that with your Derwent Lightfast or your drawing or the thicker pencils and more opaque pencils. Mixing the two together, knowing where to mix them, that's where it's going to save you time working on things like pastel mat. So I suppose smoother. Yeah, so again, like Kerry said there, when we did the white on black tiger, you put your softer pencil down first. If you've got areas that you only want light pressure and light visibility of your white, so quite a greyish white, so the darker lit areas in that tiger, you just use your Pro Colour. You're more translucent and it just gives a lighter, softer effect. The areas that you want brighter, now because of the thickness of the pencil, of the drawing pencil, it can be thick and creamy and sit on top of the surface rather than sinking down into the tooth. So by putting it down and then getting your harder pencil, you can push that thicker pencil down into your surface. We'll do that on the black paper in a second. 6 or 7 and then worked up. Right, pressure wise, so let me get a light first. So I'm coming in here with a moonstone, which is kind of like a greyish. So we are going to just start to see if we can drag. Well, that's pushing that down. The only thing with this obviously is if you come in and start to put pressure down, then remember you are going to be crushing your tooth with the paper, which is going to allow for less layers. Let us soften that up beautifully. Where's my white? That's not white, it's Arctic. So varying your pressure is great, but just remember, like I say, as soon as you start to come in on pastel mat or any of your textured papers, you're going to start to lose the tooth, which means less layers to get your details down. So make sure you're really happy with your colour placement, your tone, everything like that before you start to come in and put more pressure down. I am just looking for, here we go. So then you can come in over the top with your harder pencil and put in some fine details. Now look, by pressing down and smooshing that nice pressure, you can now come in there with a harder pencil. Let's come in with the Verifin. Now the Verifin, remember, hasn't got much pigment to it, but you could come in and put in fine details. Now this, for those of you that really do get impatient working with pastel mat and getting to that point where you want to put in fine details, this is a method that would work for you. Getting all your colours in place, all your tonal values in place, then coming in, not quite burnishing. Burnishing is pressing pretty much as hard as you can, but when you're getting close to your final layers, you can come in with a thicker, more opaque pencil, push those initial layers down into the tooth, crush the tooth, almost to stop yourself having to put down any more layers. And as long as you're happy with your colour placement and everything, you've still got enough there to be able to come in and put fine detail through and over the top. It's a different method. Maybe I'll do a portrait where, you know, we do that. There's so many things. It's like Megan saying there, use a blending stump for smooshing on pastel mat. Another thing you can use, there's so many things. You can use blending stumps. Oh, I don't know if I've got a clean one here. I'm going to risk it, that this isn't going to just spread. You can come in with a thingy, a soft tool. So you can blend with a soft tool, and you can soften out with a soft tool. I've got pigment on here. That's the only trouble, because it's dirty. But you can use this as a way of blending. We're going to talk about blending out. So this is just to show you the pencil brands more than anything. But this is a way, again, of pushing the pencil down into the tooth and then blending outwards. Lots of different tools, too many tools really. But yeah, I'll look at doing a tutorial where we use some of our opaque pencils underneath, mixed with some of our lovely colours, so our polychromos and our Pablos, which are, you know, kind of medium to hard, medium opacity almost, and medium to hardness, and then we'll come in and we'll smoosh with our softer pencils, like our Lightfast or our Luminance. We'll use Luminance. No, we'll use Lightfast. I prefer the Lightfast, because the Lightfast have got that blendability, remember? And then we'll put in details with our hard pencils. And it'll make it a lot quicker. And I know people say, oh, I've got to buy 2 or 3 different brands, but you only need 1 or 2, like with the Lightfast. Just get the Arctic, the Moonstone, the Wheat, you know, 3 or 4 of your light ones, so you've got a nice grey, a warm and a cool grey, a pale one, and then you've got like a warm beige, you know, just some of your lights that we can smoosh with, and yeah, we'll give that a go. I think that'll work really well. Blending something worse than Luminance, I know, oh god, that cringeability. So let's just switch out and do the last thing. Carrie asked us about the black paper. The black paper I had to hand isn't mount board though, it's the Somerset Velvet, and Somerset Velvet doesn't allow much, that's coming up quite red. Let's just adjust the lighting. Oh, I haven't got it set for black paper. Let me just see if I can adjust it at all. Right, so Kerry asked in the group earlier about working on black paper and doing a colour piece on black paper. I'm just going to see if I can up the contrast a bit. That might help a little bit. So about doing a colour piece, we've obviously done the white on black. So if you take that information, Kerry, about the opacity of your pencils on white, and also then again on your darker paper. So obviously you can see your Derwent drawing was our brightest and most opaque. So what you would tend to do then is, if you want to put colour, say you want to do a flower, full colour flower on black paper that isn't going to take even that many layers, so you've got to think about, okay, I've got 10 layers maximum, I'm limited to, I need to get my colour in, my tone in, my details in those layers, and I need it to be nice and saturated with the brightness of the colour. You're going to avoid things like using your pro colour. You want to go to something that's got a nice richness and intensity, a good saturation, in other words, lots of pigment. So if you want an orange pencil, you want it to be orange. You don't want it to be something that you need several layers of, because you remember you've only got 10 layers to work with on that paper. So you need something that's going to achieve it quite fast. You can do colour direct onto black paper, but of course it's going to be dark. I've achieved it. I've done dog portraits and that just using my polychromos. Only came really from, I guess, practice using that paper and those pencils for several years that I've managed to achieve the effect. It was tough. There is easier ways of doing it. You can put down a layer of white or even like a beige. So if you think about what colour you want to represent, If it's a blue, then maybe you can put like a nice brightish white down. I wouldn't go in with a drawing pencil. It's too thick. It's because what's going to happen is, and let's show you, if you put down something that's too thick, all that's going to happen when you add your colour is you're going to get a tint. So if you want a bright blue and you put down a thick white creamy opaque pencil, the blue is just going to turn it into a real pale blue tint, and you want bright blue. So you just want you just want to basically lift the black a tiny bit. So let's go for blue. I'm going to pull out, I'll just grab the blue, I've got cobalt blue. So this is on the black paper. I'm going to make myself vanish, because I think working down here might be better. The lighting is not great. So if I just come in, light pressure, this is straight onto black Somerset velvet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 5 layers there. And what we'll do is I'll just show you the demonstration. So if I came in and put in the drawing pencil, so I'm going to put in a layer of the drawing pencil, 1 layer of drawing pencil. If I then came in with the blue, remember I've not got many layers to work with on this paper. It's going to look a little bit rough because I'm going quite fast. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're going to hate my answer on this, but it is going to be a case of practice. Susan, could you perhaps put together a suggested colours list for the various brands as must-haves? It depends, Susan, what you're drawing. That's the trouble. Obviously I did the video with my favourite pencils, the ones that I use the most. That's before I got light fast, so you know which ones. For doing animal fur, obviously, I'm going to carry on. I'm just going to put down now a layer of Pro Colour. Pro Colour obviously is our most translucent. So let me just put down a layer of Pro Colour under here. Just 1 light layer. Now come in with our blue. Yeah, so a list of pencils. I can do my most used pencils again. That's 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we put underneath there, this is just the pure pencil here. So this is the pure cobalt blue greenish it is, 144 polychromos. So here's just the blue going down straight onto the paper. It is this colour blue, but you can see the paper. Here's where we put the drawing pencil underneath, which, great white base underneath. Can you see it's not this blue? It's a tint of the blue. It's a light version. By putting down and just putting 1 layer of your most translucent white, which is the opposite of what you probably thought you had to do, put down your most translucent white underneath, it's not gonna, and it's the least creamy as well. I'm going to do it again with the polychromos white, but it's going to be a case of practice with what you've got. Where's my polychromos? There it is. I'm going to try it once more with the polychromos white, because again, I know my polychromos white is quite translucent. It's not going to affect the desired colour of my blue too much, but this might be where the Pro Colour comes into play. 2, 3, 4, 5. So there you go. That's the difference between putting the whites down. I'd probably stick with my polychromos underneath there. But your Pro Colours, you can see there's a place for those Pro Colours if working on black paper, where it's not going to take and strip the pigment, the colour that you want, you know, from your blue pencil. You want that blue going down, because you haven't got too many, you know, you haven't got a lot of choice when working on black paper. Unless you're working on the black UArt, it's got loads of tooth, or unless you dye your pastel matte black with ink or something, and then you've got tons of layers that you can put in. This blue, yeah, I mean, I can do it again with, I'm going to do it again once more with, okay, this colour is really hard to show up on black, so this is like a luminous green. It's the cadmium yellow lemon. It is actually quite green. It's looking a little bit yellowy on there. So this is the hardest colour I always find for trying to get it to show up on black paper. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any more questions whilst we're just talking? I'm going to do exactly the same experiment as we did before. So drawing pencil, Pro Colour. And can you see the difference in the way it goes down? Hardly any grain, because it's a harder pencil. It's pressing the tooth and flattening out a little bit and making it smoother. The creaminess here, you'd need to, like Kerry was saying before, you put down your creamy pencil on black paper, you need to then go in, because it sits on the surface. That's just sat on the surface, it's not going down. You'd need a harder pencil to then go and press it down into the tooth. So once more, we could carry on with this demo like for days and not cover everything. So now I'm going to come in with this cadmium yellow lemon. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is over the Pro Colour now. But you're just going to have to practice. So if you want to achieve a colour, have a strip of paper that you're going to be working on as a test paper over to one side and go, right, I need this pink. Let me just try popping a white underneath it. Let me just try, you know, until you get it to match exactly like you want, and then come in. So those Pro Colours are working well. This is not looking like the colour it should be. Bring that down. Let's bring the saturation up. There we go. But you can see there enough. Basically straight onto the black, dull. It's not going to give you enough saturation or vividness. On the white, it's just going to mix with the white. A bit like getting a tin of white paint and putting 3 drops of lemon dye into it. This one is like getting lemon dye and just I don't know, 100 drops of lemon dye as to 1 drop of white paint. It's just that white base is just giving you enough. So your polychromos will work perfectly, but those Pro Colours work beautifully there as well. Dye or pastel matte, that's a thing. Oh my god, no, Helen, don't go off on a tangent. Yeah, you can. You can dye your pastel matte. I know people have done it with like thin down acrylic and that, so you can, because you haven't got black pastel matte. Everyone goes, oh, I've done this on black pastel matte. No, you haven't. You've done it on anthracite pastel matte usually. And it's not black, but people then edit their photos that they put online, and it is not on black paper. It's, you know, it's on anthracite, which isn't black. If you want to do it, I know someone was saying the other day, I haven't tried it myself, ink. Black ink works beautifully. Acrylic does work, but even if you do it thin, it can possibly go patchy. You can use things as well. I mean, this stuff is brilliant. So this is Daniel Smith's watercolour grounds, and it's black. It is Mars black. I can paint that onto any surface, paint it onto wood, metal, anything. And it gives me a beautiful surface for doing watercolour pencils, coloured pencils, anything really. It's a real fine pumice ground for preparing my surfaces with. That's a great one. But yeah, ink. Just in Black India ink straight onto your pastel matte. Obviously you've seen with the ink tents, Helen, how much it bleeds out. So you put ink down, it bleeds out beautifully. Let it dry, give it a good couple of days to dry, and there you go, you've got pure black pastel matte. The demos really help, makes total sense. Cool. Good. That's all I wanted to hear. Someone, like, if it helps one person, it's a hard one, but I just know these kind of things aren't covered in a lot of the tutorials and things out there. So hopefully, you know, next one we'll be working on some different papers, comparing papers. We'll do sharpeners, we'll do loads of things, but I thought starting with the pencils, and then any questions that arise from this, obviously please bounce them back at me, and if I can do a quick 5-minute demo then to answer those questions, I can do it. And if those are the things that make sense in the learning journey, or the things that are missing, or even if you were thinking, oh, I don't know about buying those pencils, they're a lot of money. If you've seen them now and gone, well, actually, I quite like those, or I only need the white or the black, or I only need to, hand pick a few from some brands and then more from another. And yes, Susan, I'll look to see about getting a list of, obviously my favoured ones, but it changes as well. Yeah, anthracite isn't black enough. Would layers be the same on anthracite? Oh, as in what we just did here, Susan? As in putting like a layer of white down underneath? Yeah, I mean, we can do it a quick one here. I'll do it once more. This obviously isn't the anthracite, but it's the dark blue. Let me just change the cameras over. We'll do this as the last demo. I think that's what you meant. So the same thing that we just did, where we popped down. I thought we'd finished, so I've just dumped these over here. Where's that program? Okay, so I'm going to do exactly the same then. Let's get this lemon, cadmium yellow lemon. So I'll put down. I mean, the pastel mat will grip it more because there's more tooth. It will take more pigment. So that's it going down pure. Let's put down a layer of Pro Colour first. Again, same light pressure, always the same light pressure. And then a layer of this over the top. And you have to just be aware, it's not really showing it that great there. I'll try and take a photo of it and then you can see. So I do another layer here. You see, if we did this on Lux Archival grabs more pigment. So you remember, this paper will grab more pigment than that black paper, which is smoother. So the smoother the paper, the less pigment that will be grabbed from your pencils. So you need to make sure that the pencils you are using suit that paper. If you went in with a really opaque pencil onto, we'll try it when we do the demos of the papers, like the Lux Archival compared to Pastel Mat, compared to UArt, compared to Colourfix. We'll do those four together, and then you can see a direct comparison of how much pigment each one will take, how many layers each one will take, and what the advantages are of doing less layers to more layers. More layers allows you to mix and blend correct. It's more forgiving, even though it's a tester of patience. Less layers, obviously the opposite. You need to be more precise, make less mistakes, and be more aware of your colour mixing, because you're going to get less chance to put down as many layers to correct your colours. Yeah, it's all got advantages and disadvantages. Helen's gone running off to paint a pastel mat now. Yay! Can't see what you do. What would be the deepest black out there? As in paper or pencil, Susan? I'll wait for you just to come back on that one. Fabriano. Oh, I think Helen's answered you there. The Fabriano black is very black, but it's not very toothy. So a bit like the colour of this Somerset Velvet is beautiful and black. It's one of the few 100% cotton rag papers. It's back in production now. I bought about 10 years worth of supply a few years ago when they said they were going out of production. I haven't tried the Fabriano black. I know I've had a few. I've had like some Stonehenge, I think, and some from Strathmore. I haven't got on with them because some of them have had like a weird texture. To me, the blackest black paper that I use, I like, is the Colourfix Smooth. It's halfway between a smooth paper and a pastel mat. It's pure black. The Polar Bear that just won the competition, that's obviously on the black. It is super black. A white pencil goes down on it really bright because it's got tooth. But it's not as toothy and grainy as, as pastel mat. So you get that smoother look. So yeah, to me, I like the Colourfix Smooth, but I haven't tried. I'm not a smooth paper worker, so the Fabriano black probably is pretty good. Oh, light fasteners are the brands. That's something, like I said, go to their websites. So if you've got those links there for Faber-Castell and for, you just put in, go to their sites and they've got searches on there. But here, like I was saying here, the manufacturers have got the true advice on which of their range has got the light fastness. If you've bought Karen Hull's conversion books as well, Karen gives a breakdown of the light fast comparisons of all of the ranges as well. That's another way. And of course all the pencils do display the light fast ratings on them. Don't even consider Arteza pencils, just don't even go there with me on those. So they're not they're not part of this. So like you say, here Derwent are really great, and they'll provide you with the light fastness. And if you want to know which ones are the ones that aren't light fast, just contact Derwent and they will get back to you. Just contact faber-castell, they will get back to you. They're all fantastic. Obviously if you get really stuck, give us a shout and I'll try and dig the information out for you. But it might just take me a while to do. But yeah, light fastness, it has importance if you're selling your artwork. If you're just a hobbyist and you just want to play and create artwork for you, and you're not worried about it fading, and as long as you're not selling it, because as soon as you're selling something to a client, you've got to make sure, that it is light fast. I'm going to drop that out of the way, because you don't want it fading. It's your reputation, and of course they've paid good money. If you're not worried about light fastness, then yeah, get the Arteza, because apparently they are quite blendable, but some of the colours can fade within 2 to 4 hours. The magenta and some of those reds will disappear. But if you're going to make prints from them, I started a flamingo about 2 years ago. I will finish it. It's all the pinks, it's all the Prismacolor pinks, all the ones that aren't light fast. It's holding up pretty well because it's wrapped up and tucked away. If it came out into daylight, it would fade. But my intention is, if ever I create a piece using non-light fast or risky pencils, I'll just take a scan of it and make prints. I won't sell the original. Like the inky drawings, they're a bit dicey. You can fix them, which helps. You can frame them behind UV glass, which helps. But those pencils, a lot of those colours are rogue, what we call Prismacolors, I think. Isn't there like out to a set of 150, about 60 of them that aren't light fast? Do you risk buying a whole set if you want to sell your work? That's the thing. Oh, I didn't get to say goodbye to Avril. Sorry, Avril. Yeah, Adriana, with the papers, we're going to break it down because that is just huge to tackle. So I'm going to try and categorise it. We have 3 or 4 papers that are comparable, so that we can do a direct comparison between 4 textured papers, and then we've got anomalies like suede matte board to bring in. I can bring in a couple of colours of suede matte. Well, I can compare the suede matte to velour, and possibly something else. I can show you then grounds and different grounds that you can use, like gesso and golden grounds and those watercolour grounds, Daniel Smith grounds that I showed just now. There's so much to show you, and that's why I'm hoping, like I say, this kind of video is going to give you a huge amount more foundation understanding of things that you can refer back to as well, and ask add-on questions, and we can do other little demos of within Q&A sessions and things. But I'm hoping these will give you a really good groundwork, and just for this next couple of months will help me out as filling in as some of my tutorial work, kind of. I am still doing tutorials for you, obviously. Once the Indie ink dries, will it reactivate? No, it won't reactivate. Indie ink is the permanent ones. Brilliant. Watercolour paper versus Bristol vellum would be useful too. Yeah, okay. I will do the watercolour paper. I'll do something like... I've done work on... Oh, what's it called? Oh, it will come to me. It's one of the St Cuthbert's Mill. I've done work on some of the watercolour paper. I've got Strathmore vellum here. I've got Bristol Smooth. I've got all of those. I don't... And of course I've got the Derwent Lightfast paper as well. So I will again get 4 or 5 of those most known, and Stonehenge. So I'll do 4 or 5 of those. I don't work on those papers, obviously. But I've got them here, and I can do a comparison and show you, and we can talk about them. We can talk about the makeup of them, advantages, disadvantages, what you can do, what you can't do. Absolutely fine. So I'll get those. I can't schedule them too far ahead because of the possibility of a house move, which is looking more like the end of October at the moment. So we should be okay to bang a couple more of these in before mid-October. As long as, like I say, feedback from you guys would be great. If this was really useful, that's great. if you think, oh, what's the point, I just want to do a tutorial, let me know that too. Obviously I can't please everyone, but I'm hoping that this is something that is of value basically for you all. So we'll wait to hear about, there's been a lot of activity online, or you do want light fast paper. Yes, I've got that here. I did have a little dabble with it the other day, because it demands a different technique to what I'm used to doing. But again, the luminance might work well on there, and they might not be scratchy and make me go all icky as I use them. Okay, guys, so we're going to leave it there. I don't even know what the time is. Oh, hour and a half. That wasn't too bad then. We'll leave it there for now. Any questions, obviously pop them up over on Patreon. We can then line up another little demo, or I can do little 5-minute videos and upload them for you to answer questions. We can do them as part of the next Q&A session as a demo as well. No, they're still scratchy on that paper. They're not scratchy on the drafting film or the never tear, which is one good thing. And that's another one I need to demo for you as well, drafting film versus never tear. And I had the president of graphics approach me from America to do some work for them for next year. So again, I'm going to be getting samples of different papers from them, and I've had samples sent through of a manufacturer here of drafting film. So I'm looking at all these things behind the scenes and putting them all together for you. So, and you'll be pleased to know that I finished writing up the foal last night, so it's proofreading this afternoon. And then we're going to get it all converted into a flip book, so it should be with you guys tomorrow, and I will be so relieved. I think it worked out to be 60-odd pages long, and I ended up deleting a load, so there you go. So I'll say goodbye to everyone. Oh, so glad you enjoyed it, Adriana. I'm glad you made it as well. Thank you, everyone. Big thank you to Susan and to Megan that were there helping me out in the chat as well. Yeah, thank you, Helen. I'm going to hopefully go online later and maybe shout about my big win. I think maybe I should. I don't know. I'm scared. No, it was huge. So, okay, right. I shall speak to you all again soon. So take care and stay safe, everyone. All right, then. I shall end it there. Thank you.